Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. Um, Today, we're tackling something, I gotta say, it's both fascinating and a little bit out there.
Definitely.
The three death experiences of Munehisa Murayama.
Wow.
Now, you might be thinking, who is this guy?
Hmm.
And why are his deaths so special?
Right.
Well, Murayama, he was actually a really well-known Japanese astronomer. He was known for discovering comets.
Yeah.
And what makes this story so interesting is that he was a scientist through and through,
Mm-hmm.
but he had these incredibly vivid near-death experiences that totally shifted his entire perspective on life, death, and the universe.
What's really interesting about Moriyama is that he came at these experiences from a very skeptical scientific viewpoint. He
Yes.
wasn't someone who was predisposed to believe in the afterlife or anything like that.
You're right.
But the sheer intensity and the detail of what he went through really forced him to rethink everything he thought he knew.
Okay, so let's unpack this a little bit.
Sure.
His first death experience happened when he was just 22 years old.
Wow.
He was struck by this super rare illness called superior mesenteric artery syndrome.
Okay.
So basically, it's a blockage of a major artery in your abdomen.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's really serious.
Yeah.
And despite the best efforts of the doctors, Moriyama's heart actually stopped for 40 minutes.
40 minutes.
He was clinically dead.
And during those 40 minutes, his consciousness went on this incredible journey.
Wow.
He describes it as starting with darkness, then he sees this distant light,
Okay.
a tunnel,
Uh-huh.
and eventually he arrives in this beautiful meadow filled with flowers.
Okay.
And he could even feel the soft earth beneath his feet, the grass between his toes.
So he was still experiencing the world around him in a way.
But here's where it gets really fascinating.
Okay.
He wasn't just a passive observer in this meadow.
Right.
He was actually interacting with this other reality.
Right.
He talks about rowing a boat across a river
Oh, wow.
and even feeling the physical exertion of rowing, even though he didn't have a physical body.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So it was hyper real, like a dream, but with all these heightened senses.
Exactly.
Like he was experiencing this other realm on a physical and emotional level.
Yeah, and it gets even more interesting.
Okay.
He encounters these 5 figures, all dressed in white suits.
Okay.
And one of them, a woman, asks him why he's there.
Okay.
And Moriyama is totally bewildered because he has no answer.
Yeah.
And then later, he realizes that this woman was actually his deceased aunt,
Oh, wow.
someone he never met in life because she died before he was born.
Right.
And as he continues this journey, he encounters other deceased family members on a mountain.
Okay.
So now we're adding this really deep emotional layer to his experience.
It's like he's being welcomed into the afterlife by those who have passed on before him.
That's one interpretation.
But-
Then things take a sudden turn.
Okay.
He's abruptly pulled back into his body,
Oh, wow.
realizing that he's now a soul,
Right.
observing his own lifeless form lying on a hospital bed.
Oh.
I can't even imagine how disorienting and terrifying that must have been.
It would be so scary.
He describes it as incredibly chilling.
Right.
He can see his parents' frantic reactions.
Yeah.
He can hear his mother's cries.
Yeah.
But he's completely unable to communicate with them.
Right.
It's this stark realization of being trapped in a body that's no longer responding.
Wow, that's heavy.
Yet, despite not having a physical form, he could still perceive the world.
Oh,
He could see, he
Right.
could hear, he could smell,
Wow.
he could even feel the wind and the temperature.
So his consciousness is still very much active, even though he's technically dead.
Yes. And then there's another twist.
Okay.
He discovers that he can instantly teleport by thought alone.
But
Ah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, hold on.
So,
He's like a ghost, is that what you're saying?
well, in a sense,
Okay.
he visits his mother, who's downstairs in the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
then his sister, who's rushing to the hospital, and later, he's able to confirm the details of these encounters with them,
Oh, wow.
proving that he was actually there.
So he's like a disembodied consciousness, just flitting around,
Right.
able to witness events and even interact with people.
Yeah,
That is wild.
it is.
So how did he try to make sense of all this?
Well, this ability to teleport sparked a scientific epiphany for him.
Okay.
He's thinking if he can travel instantaneously by thought,
Mm-hmm.
maybe time and space as we understand them
Right.
don't actually exist in the way we perceive them.
It's like his scientific mind is grappling with this profoundly spiritual experience.
Exactly.
So did this first death experience push him to explore these concepts further?
Absolutely. It opened a door to a whole new realm of possibilities.
Okay.
And Murayama, being a scientist,
Mhm.
decided to put his newfound abilities to the test.
So what did you do?
He starts experimenting with something straight out of science fiction.
What's that?
Time travel?
Wait, time travel. Like actually going back and forth in time.
Yeah.
But how?
It sounds unbelievable, but remember,
Yeah.
this is a scientist who's had a first-hand experience with what lies beyond the boundaries of our everyday reality.
That's true. That's true.
He's no longer limited by conventional thinking.
So how does this time travel work?
Well, he doesn't build a time machine or anything like that.
Okay.
He describes it as an extension of his ability to teleport.
Right.
He focuses his consciousness on a specific point in time,
Okay.
and he's instantly transported there.
Okay, so he's essentially teleporting through time.
Exactly.
That's mind-boggling.
It is.
So where does he go first?
Well, his first time travel experiment takes him back to a childhood memory
Okay.
that had always puzzled him.
What was it?
Remember, Murayama was saved from this falling boulder by a mysterious voice when he was a child.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Well, he journeys back to that moment
Okay.
and makes an incredible discovery.
What is it?
He realizes that he was the one who shouted danger all those years ago.
No way.
So he solved this childhood mystery and confirmed his ability to actually influence the past.
That's crazy.
It is.
He's not only witnessing the past, but potentially playing a role in it.
Right.
It just raises so many questions about free will
Yeah.
and the nature of cause and effect.
It really does suggest that time travel might not just be about passive observation.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a possibility for interaction,
Right.
even intervention.
So what does he do next with this newfound ability?
Well, his scientific curiosity takes him in another direction.
Right.
He wants to know what his future holds.
Okay.
So he travels forward in time,
Uh-huh.
and he finds himself as a 40-year-old man
Wow.
lecturing students about astronomy,
Okay.
a future he couldn't have imagined at 22.
It confirms that what he's experiencing isn't just some hallucination.
Right.
It's real.
But then there's also this chilling element to it.
What's that?
He sees an even further future,
Oh, yeah.
a vision of himself as an old man
Uh-huh.
surrounded by children. But underneath this really happy image is this disturbing image of ruins,
Oh, no.
suggesting a future filled with potential catastrophe.
This is getting really interesting.
Yeah.
So time isn't necessarily fixed or linear
No.
in his experience.
Right.
There are possibilities.
Yeah.
Maybe even alternate timelines or branches.
Exactly.
So to solidify his belief in time travel even more,
Right.
Moriyama decides to leave some tangible evidence behind.
What does he do?
He journeys back 500 years to a temple called the Toso Shrine,
Okay.
and he describes possessing a person,
Okay.
using charcoal to carve the character from his name
Mhm.
onto a pillar.
Wow.
After waking up in his own time, he actually finds a faint inscription
On the pillar.
on that very pillar.
That's wild.
And get this, the temple's historical records actually mention these mysterious characters, corroborating his story.
Wow. That's incredible.
It's like he's conducting a scientific experiment across time itself.
Right.
He's not just having these experiences, he's trying to document them.
Exactly.
Find proof beyond his own subjective perception.
Yeah.
It's an amazing blend of science and the supernatural.
I know. It's fascinating.
So, where does Murayama's time-traveling adventures take him next?
Well, his most remarkable journey takes him to investigate one of humanity's most enduring mysteries,
What's that?
the Great Flood.
Oh, wow.
As a scientist, he's always been skeptical of the biblical account.
Right.
So he travels back 15,000 years to witness it firsthand.
What did you see?
He finds a world submerged in water,
Okay.
confirming that the flood was a real event.
Wow.
But what really shocks him
Yeah.
is the discovery of multiple Noah's Arks.
Wait, Noah's Arks? Like from the Bible?
Yes.
He's a scientist. He doesn't really believe in that, does he?
He didn't, but what he saw really challenged his beliefs.
What do you mean?
These weren't simple wooden boxes.
Right.
They were massive leaf-shaped vessels,
Wow.
each containing 3 giant spheres.
What?
Yeah.
What were the spheres for?
Their purpose remains a mystery. But he was convinced that these technologically sophisticated arcs weren't built by any civilization we know of.
Okay.
They suggest a level of advanced engineering that far surpasses anything from ancient times.
That's amazing.
It is.
Did he figure out what caused this massive flood?
He did.
What was it?
He witnessed a comet, primarily composed of ice,
Okay.
nearly colliding with Earth.
Okay.
And the comet's ice was pulled by Earth's gravity,
Okay.
resulting in this catastrophic deluge that flooded the planet.
So the Great Flood wasn't caused by just some random torrential rain?
Right.
It was a comet.
That's what Murayama concluded,
Wow.
based on his experience.
Okay.
And his observations led him to another startling revelation.
Is that?
He came to believe that most of Earth's water actually came from that comet.
Oh, wow.
And that this event triggered a cycle of disaster for our planet.
Hold on. He's suggesting the moon we see every night was once part of a giant comet that caused the Great Flood.
Yes, and that's just the beginning of Murayama's incredible journey.
I can't wait to hear more.
Stay tuned for part 2,
Okay.
where we delve into his second death experience,
Okay.
which takes us even deeper into the mysteries of consciousness and the afterlife.
I'm so ready. Let's go.
Oh, you won't want to miss it.
All right. See you soon, everybody.
Bye. Welcome back to our deep dive into the extraordinary experiences of Munehisa Murayama.
I'm so excited to jump back in.
Yeah, last time we journeyed through his first death experience.
Right.
That whole wild ride through time travel, ancient history.
It was incredible.
And, his second death experience, which happens when he's 30.
Okay.
It delves even further into the mysteries of consciousness and the afterlife.
So we left off with Murayama's first death experience.
Yeah.
What happens in the second one? Is it another rare illness?
So this time, it's acute pancreatitis.
Oh, well.
For those who don't know,
Yeah.
that's a sudden inflammation of the pancreas.
Okay.
It can be really life-threatening.
Right.
And as his condition worsens, Murayama's consciousness detaches from his body.
Okay, so similar to the first time.
Kind of, but unlike his first experience, there's no tunnel,
Okay.
no meadow,
Right.
no river.
So no classic near-death experience imagery.
Right.
Interesting. So what does he see instead?
He finds himself floating above his own body,
Wow.
observing the medical team working frantically to save him.
Oh, wow.
He can see their worried faces,
Oh.
hear the beeping machines,
Yeah.
feel the coldness of the room,
Okay.
but he's completely detached,
Oh, wow.
almost like a spectator.
Like an out-of-body experience.
Yeah, it's like a classic out-of-body experience.
Right. We hear about that a lot with these kinds of stories.
Exactly.
Did he try to interact with anyone while he was like that?
He describes being able to move through walls.
What?
Yeah.
So like a ghost.
Kind of.
Okay.
It confirmed his earlier observation that physical barriers just don't apply to his soul in this state.
Right.
But what sets Murayama's experience apart
Okay.
is his scientific curiosity. Even as he's hovering near death,
Mhm.
his mind is racing,
Okay.
trying to make sense of it all.
Right.
He starts experimenting with his perception,
Oh, wow.
trying to focus on really specific details,
Like what kinds of details?
like the patterns on the wallpaper, the
Totally.
threads in the doctor's coat.
He can zoom in on tiny details.
Yeah, his perception becomes incredibly acute.
Wow. That's incredible.
He realizes that the more he focuses his attention on something,
Okay.
the clearer it becomes.
It's like he's amplifying its presence just with his consciousness.
Exactly.
That's wild. Did this lead to any new insights?
It did.
What happened?
As he's observing the hospital room, he starts to notice these tiny shimmering particles
Oh,
floating in the air.
oh wow.
He describes them as these points of light,
Okay.
constantly moving, interacting with each other.
Okay.
And he becomes convinced that these particles
Yeah.
are the fundamental building blocks of reality.
So he's seeing the very fabric of the universe.
You could say that, wow, this experience just strengthens his belief that consciousness isn't confined to the physical body.
Okay.
He starts to see these particles as like a manifestation of this universal consciousness,
Okay.
constantly exchanging information, connecting everything and everyone.
That's a really profound thought.
It is.
So this second death experience shifts his focus from time travel
Right.
to the nature of consciousness itself.
Yeah, he's no longer just exploring the past and future.
Right.
Now he's delving into the fundamental mysteries of existence.
I mean, it's important to note that his observations are subjective,
Absolutely.
but they do resonate with some scientific theories,
Yeah.
like the idea of a universal consciousness. We see that a lot in quantum physics.
Right, and those ideas about the interconnectedness of all things.
Exactly. Of
Yeah.
course, we can't scientifically prove these concepts,
Of course not.
but Murayama's experiences offer a very unique perspective.
They do.
It's like he's bridging the gap between science and spirituality, using his scientific mind to try and make sense of these profound, almost mystical encounters.
Yeah.
So where does he go from here? Does he return to his life as an astronomer after this second experience?
He does.
Okay.
but with a renewed sense of purpose.
Okay.
He no longer sees astronomy as just studying celestial objects.
Okay.
It's about understanding our place in the vast cosmic tapestry.
So his work takes on a much deeper, more philosophical dimension.
Right.
Does this new perspective change how he approached his research?
He continues his work with comets,
Okay.
but now he believes that studying the universe can actually unlock the secrets of consciousness itself.
It's like he's looking for evidence of this universal connection
Yeah.
in the very fabric of the cosmos.
Exactly.
It's pretty amazing how he integrates these profound mystical experiences into his scientific pursuits.
Yeah.
He's not separating science and spirituality.
Right.
He sees them as intertwined aspects of the same grand mystery.
And that's what makes his story so inspiring. It encourages us to be open to new possibilities.
Absolutely.
To consider perspectives that challenge our conventional understanding.
I like that. Be open-minded.
Right. But there's one more chapter in Moriyama's story.
Okay.
He has one more death experience to go through.
Wow, a third one.
Yeah.
What happens?
And it might be the most transformative of all.
Oh my gosh.
Stay tuned for part 3,
Great.
where we'll unravel the mysteries of his final encounter with death.
All right, I can't wait. Welcome back to The Deep Dive. We're wrapping up our exploration of Munehisa Moriyama's extraordinary journey through 3 death experiences.
It's been quite a ride.
Yeah, in the previous parts, we saw how these events transformed him from a skeptical astronomer into someone who embraced the mysteries of time travel,
Right.
the origins of the universe,
Yeah.
and the nature of consciousness itself.
Exactly.
But now his third death experience is unlike anything we've discussed so far.
What makes this one so unique?
This time,
Yeah.
it wasn't a result of sudden illness or accident. Moriyama, at the age of 41, he actually chose to induce a near-death experience.
He chose to die.
I know, I'm having trouble wrapping my head around that concept too.
Yeah.
How is that even possible?
He was aided by a group of Tibetan monks
Oh, yeah.
who practice this really specific form of meditation
Okay.
that's designed to bring the practitioner to the brink of death
Okay.
and back.
Wow.
It's an ancient technique rarely shared outside their tradition.
So he intentionally put himself in a life or death situation for this experience.
He did.
That's so daring.
It is.
So what happened when he died this time?
Okay.
Was it anything like his previous experiences?
This time, there were no tunnels.
Okay.
No visions of the past or future.
Oh, wow.
No encounters with other beings.
So none of the classic stuff?
Right. Instead, he found himself in this void.
A void?
Yeah, a state of pure emptiness.
Wow.
He describes it as a realm beyond space and time,
Okay.
where all concepts just cease to exist.
That's a hard concept to grasp.
It is.
To experience nothingness.
Yeah.
It sounds terrifying.
It might sound that way.
Right.
But paradoxically, Moriyama describes it as the most blissful experience imaginable.
Really?
Yeah, he says it's a state of complete liberation,
Okay.
merging with the ultimate source of all being.
Wow.
He loses all sense of self, all boundaries between himself and the universe.
So it's not an absence of experience, but a transcendence of all experience.
Exactly.
Like he's tapping into something beyond words, beyond comprehension.
You got it.
And in this state of pure consciousness, Moriyama claims to have received these profound insights into the nature of reality.
Okay.
He realized that everything we perceive as separate,
Yeah.
ourselves, others, the universe, it's all ultimately an illusion.
Yeah.
We are all interconnected, part of a single unified consciousness.
It's like the ultimate cosmic unity.
Right, the realization that we're all drops in the same infinite ocean.
Beautiful, right.
It is. Did this experience have a lasting impact on him?
Absolutely. He returned from his self-induced death with this newfound sense of peace and compassion. He saw the interconnectedness of all things, this inherent unity that underlies all the apparent diversity of the universe.
That's incredible.
It is.
Sounds like this third death experience was like the culmination of his spiritual journey.
It does.
He went from scientific skepticism to this profound understanding of the interconnectedness of all things.
Yeah.
So how did this affect his life afterward?
Well, it's remarkable how he integrated this understanding into his life and work.
Give me an example.
Well, he became an advocate for peace
Okay.
and environmentalism,
Okay.
seeing the care for our planet as an extension of the care for ourselves.
So his experiences actually expanded his circle of compassion
Yeah,
to encompass not just humanity,
right.
but all life on Earth and beyond.
Exactly.
It's a really beautiful and inspiring message.
It is Murayama's story reminds us that we're not just isolated individuals. We are all part of something much larger. And our actions have consequences that ripple outward, affecting the entire web of life.
It's a powerful call to live with intention,
Yeah,
with an awareness of our interconnectedness.
I agree.
Murayama dared to venture beyond the veil of death, not once, but 3 times. He returned with insights that can guide us toward a more meaningful and compassionate way of life.
I think that's a great way to sum it up.
So as you go about your day, consider this. What if Murayama is right?
What if?
What if we are all connected,
Yeah.
part of a single universal consciousness?
It really makes you think.
How might that change the way you interact with the world, with others, and even with yourself?
That's something to ponder.
It certainly is. And on that note, we wrap up our deep dive into the incredible life and death experiences of Munehisa Murayama.
It's been an honor to explore his story with you.
Yeah, we hope you found this exploration as fascinating and thought-provoking as we did.
And until next time, keep exploring
Keep questioning
and keep diving deep.
into the mysteries of the universe and the human experience.
We'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.